Hey guys! So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I created this soft, lived-in, dimensional blonde. So if you would like to see how I did this, just keep on watching. When my girl came in, she didn't really know exactly what she wanted to do. She was down to go lighter, she was down to go darker, and so we kind of did the trend where you pull up the cards and you have her pick while her eyes are closed. So we chose trim a little bit darker, lived in with a money piece. So starting off, I am going in and I am rooting her. I'm smudging this root down. I am blending her natural color in. I'm not wanting to go necessarily darker than her natural color, just because I want this to look super seamless as it grows out. Now I have mixed up Redken Flash Lift with 10 volume. I'm going in and doing her money piece. I always like to start by doing 2 back-to-back slices, and then I like to switch up my pattern just a little bit. I find that utilizing different patterns really helps to soften the look. So I do 2 back-to-back ones, and then I just stretch the lightener down as far as the dark and kind of any weird patches are. For this one, I'm going in and using my weaving comb just to have a little bit of dimension kind of left out in there. This section is going to go all the way up as well. You will be smudging these a little bit, and so they don't have to be like entirely perfect. But then for this 4th one, I am going to go do a teasy baby light. I like this because one, it helps to get all those little like extra fine hairs out of the way, and it helps to create a little bit more of a diffused look through there. So I paint in there and then just blur up through there, and then she had a little bit of depth through her end, so I just kind of softened that a bit. I do find that with foils, it is best to just fold them in half and then fold in the corners. I do find that that causes less slippage and also less bleeders. So around her front hairline, I am doing the same kind of technique. I am going in with back-to-back foils just to kind of really brighten up right around her hairline, just folding those foils in half once and folding in the corners. So normally right around the hairline, I do like to do a lot more detailed foil work, and you want to make sure that you are following her hairline, because if you're just doing a couple right around her ears and a couple just right around her part line, when she pulls her hair back, she's going to look very inconsistent. So you want to make sure that you're doing clear around the hairline, even the like weird angles. So I have done a couple just back-to-back slices. Normally through the part area of the hair, I do like to do multiple back-to-back ones, a little bit more than the sides. So this one I am going in and doing that actual weaved baby light. It is honestly the biggest time saver to use a weaving comb that already has the pre-sectioning ones in there. I feel like it gets a perfect weaved look the entire time, and it just looks super soft. Then with this one, I am going in and doing another one, and I am gonna tease this one. Remember, the tease ones are going to be your best friends. I feel like having the weave ones as it gets further out, it helps to create that soft, like more diffused money piece look, but it really keeps it nice and bright like through the ends, but it doesn't look chunky like up at the top, which is fabulous. I normally like to do several of these, and with each one, I do like to bring the lightener like not up as high with each foil as it goes back. That way it creates like a natural kind of like gradient through there, so that way there's a little bit more depth. So this is what the foils look like when they're first in. I did the back root color first, then the foils in the front, and then did the low light or the root through the rest of it. And now I am going in and I am doing paneled low lights. With all of my lowlights, I did not drag any of them all the way through the ends. I just simply took some kind of thicker slices and just painted those down through zone 1 and zone 2, and then used my just cutting comb just to blur through those ends a little bit more. I'm doing this because I wanted to keep her ends super bright. I didn't want to make her feel necessarily like a brunette, but I really wanted to just break up her line of gras that we had and just make it look very natural. So for this, I do find that if I'm using my weaving comb too often, I feel like the lowlights almost kind of get lost in there. So that's why I like to do just panels and just kind of comb through those. You do want to make sure that you are brushing these through, even if you are trying to blur as carefully with your brush. Just combing them through afterwards just make sure that everything is going to blend in really nice, and I feel like that helps a ton. If her hair was thicker kind of through her ends, I might low light some all the way through the ends, but since her ends are a little bit finer and a little bit thinner, let's say if I low lighted all of these all the way through the ends, her ends are going to appear much darker and it's not going to have that like a bright feel. So when you low light, it doesn't necessarily have to be all the way through the ends every single time. If you want a little bit darker than like this finished result, then I would pull like maybe every other or every third through the ends. But if you are pulling one all the way through the ends, I would make your sections a little bit thinner, just so you don't have any weird chunks or stripes through there. But with this, you can take this a little bit thicker and it looks just perfect. So I always like to go up the back. I like to go up diagonally, and then once my top section gets to be like the width of my foil or even a little bit smaller, then I transition to just going horizontally up the head, and I feel like that works the best, and then that way everything lays really nice. The reason I'm using Redken Shades EQ is because my gal does like to be super blonde, so I don't want to make it super hard on myself for if she comes back next time and decides that she wants to be super blonde. I use Redken Shades because then it's not going to be super hard to work through the next time. You wouldn't want to go in with something I feel like even like semi-permanent, just because it might not give you it might give you a problem when you try to lift it out later. So then I'm going through her front sections. I'm doing this a little bit differently. I have sectioned off like the little part of her front section and have left that out, if that makes sense. So that way there's like a nice transition so the lowlights don't start all the way right after the money piece. And then with these, I am going to be angling the pattern of my lowlight. So I've angled the section, but then when I'm actually painting, I'm going to be having a little bit less depth in the front and a little bit more depth in the back, so that way it has a really nice gradient. I feel like when you low light on a pattern like this, it really helps it to kind of have like more of a halo appearance on the head, so that way the money piece is our highest point, it gradually gets a little bit lower, and then it's the lowest in the back. And I find that that tends to grow out the best when it's not kind of like the same pattern on the entire head. I don't like to do quite as many lowlights through the front, just because I feel like naturally right around our face tends to be brighter than around the back. So I just kind of want to mimic what the sun is going to naturally do, and so that is going to keep us brighter kind of through the front, is like less lowlights. So same thing, kind of continuing on this angle. I do like to do this angle all the way up the head, just because I feel like it lays the most naturally. When I'm low lighting, I do not like to fold my foils, just because you are painting on a very specific angle, and if you don't fold your foil perfectly, it would be very easy to get like color on pieces of hair that you don't want it on. So I find that it's easiest just to sandwich another foil on top of this. And then I do go through on the other side and just paint the exact same way. Then once I have painted all of those lowlights in, I am going in and tipping out the very front of the sections that I have lowlighted. I don't do all of them, just the very front pieces that I pull forward, just so it's going to be brightest right up around her face. So I just tease those, and then I'm just painting on an angle higher up towards her face and lower towards the back. So you can see I have a little bit of that hair pulled out from the front. I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. Like you can see, I section it off here. I'm taking just some of the hair from the front, pulling that forward, and then I'm going to tease it and just get all the little baby wispies out of there. And then I'm going to go in and paint that. Same thing, I am using Redken Flash Lift with 10 volume. I didn't want to use anything super crazy because I knew her money pieces, I needed to let them sit for a minute, just because I was painting the rest, and her ends are already pretty bright. I just wanted to brighten them just a little bit, so that way they stood out compared to the rest of her blonde. So you can do this where you feel like you need it, but I feel like if they're already pretty blonde to begin with, you don't necessarily have to tip out everywhere. If this was someone who was starting as a brunette going blonder, you would probably have more tip outs, but we're kind of reversing this a little bit. Then once our foils have fully processed, we are rinsing out. After we shampooed, we are using the Biolage milk rinse. That stuff is my favorite because it really just softens the hair a ton and evens out the pH. Then I am going in, I'm using that same root color that I did before, and I just smudged her money piece a little bit on an angle. Then I'm going in with my gloss. For my gloss, I did use Redken Shades EQ 9VG and 9AG to do this. I wanted to cool it down a little bit, but I still wanted to keep a little bit of warmth so that way it was still nice and super bright. I did keep her money pieces at the very, very front all the way up, so that way it was really soft. So here is how it turned out. It's very soft, very dimensional, still super blonde, and I feel like this is like a perfect look for all times of year. I hope you guys enjoyed this look. If you guys have any questions about anything that I did today, or if you have any requests of any other videos that I should do, please let me know down below. I hope you guys found this helpful, and this is honestly one of my favorite looks, and I was super excited to share it with you guys. I do this a lot on my people, and it was just a really fun look to do. So thank you so much for watching.